PsychologyToday, Alma, ZocDoc, Headway. Oh my gosh, the amount of services and subscriptions in private practice is mind-blowing. You start off going into private practice, you think things are gonna be simple. You know, I log in or I go to my office, I see my clients, and that's a wrap. But once you start diving in, you realize there's all sorts of softwares and subscriptions and tools and directories. It's overwhelming. All right. Now, each of these different things, these subscription, these tools, they all market to you and tell you that they are a solution to a big problem that you have as a therapist. And oftentimes you're like, hey, yeah, like, you know, that is a problem. You know, they'll say something like, you know, do you need more referrals? And you'll say, oh yeah, of course I need more referrals. Yeah, that would be great. I want to grow my practice. Well, sign up for Psychology Today. You want to be credentialed with insurance? Oh yeah, that sounds good. That would be a great problem to solve. Sign up with Alma, right? And all these are all really good things. However, as you get more and more into the subscriptions and services, you realize that you have so many tools floating around that becomes overwhelming in and of itself. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you all of the tools and subscriptions and services that I use as part of my private practice, both as an individual and as a group practice owner. And I'm going to share with you why I have that tool so that by the end of this video, you'll have a good idea of what you might need, what might be helpful, and what you don't need. Because at the end of the day, we want to make things simple, right? That's just better. Anyway, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe down below. Hit the thumbs up button on this video. Only if you want to though, there is no pressure. Oh yes, and this video is sponsored by Jane. However, more on them in just a bit. So before we jump into the actual services and softwares that I use in my practice, I want to share with you the framework. Now the framework is how you want to think about these tools and services. So the first thing you want to do is think about your private practice. This is the center of the hub, okay? Whether you're an individual practice, you're a group practice, and right there, you want to think about what your goals are for your practice. Do you want to grow into a group practice? Do you want to fill up therapists in a group practice? Do you want to take insurance? And with your private practice or business in the center, you then think about what you need to achieve your goals. And that is where the services and subscriptions come into play. You are not there to serve them, but these tools and subscriptions are there to serve you. So you want to think about what tools you need to achieve your goals. So for example, if you want to grow and you want referrals in your practice, then a directory listing like Psychology Today or ZocDoc might be a helpful tool to use. Not because you have to use those, but because those tools will help you get referrals. So keep this framework in mind as we go through the list. Now this list is in no particular order, all right? So we're just gonna go through it. I'm gonna share with you some thoughts on each and everything on the list. So the first one I have here listed out is EHR. This stands for Electronic Health Record. Now if I had to choose only one service or subscription or tool, it would be the EHR. That is because most of my work can be done inside of there. Your EHR is where you store documentation for clients, you communicate with clients, it is where you can submit insurance claims and you can bill, it's where you keep your calendar. All of your heavy lifting for your practice usually happens in your electronic health record. And some EHRs even integrate with video platforms so that you can even host your virtual sessions with inside the EHR. And actually, this is a great opportunity for me to pause and tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Jane. Jane is a practice management software designed to help health and wellness professionals, including therapists, manage their practices. They have features like online booking, admin scheduling, customizable notes, integrated payments, and so much more. Now, one thing I absolutely love about Jane is their customer support. If you have any issues, support team is there to help. Even before you ever sign up with Jane, they are happy to answer any questions you might have, address any of your concerns. You can even schedule an online call with them to go over the practice management software to see if it's a good fit for you. You actually talk to another human being about the software. They answer all your questions, they address all your needs, and they're always there to support you. You can always rely on them to provide quick and reliable help whenever you need it. If you're interested in checking out Jane for yourself, there's a link down below. You can use the code MATTHEW_LCSW for your first month free. And now back to the rest of the video. Another service I use is called Gusto, and I started using this as part of my group practice. This is basically an HR platform where you can run payroll, you can do onboarding, you can hire people. It's basically HR tasks, right? So you might not need this if you're an individual practitioner, but if you are looking to hire people and start a group practice, you are going to need a payroll software like Gusto. That's because payroll is really confusing and complicated. There's a lot of taxes and compliance stuff that is just too much for one person.
I don't get it.
and Gusto does all of that for you. I also use QuickBooks. This is something I also started using once I transitioned into a group practice. It was then recommended by my accountant because I could no longer keep track of expenses just on a simple Excel sheet. You know, I was running payroll and paying employees, and so to keep track of all that required something like QuickBooks. It's a lot more seamless and easy to use and is able to handle kind of the complicated accounting that was now occurring with a group practice. I also use ZocDoc. Now this is something I see people asking about all the time. And for me, I use ZocDoc as a referral source. Now they do have a bunch of other tools that you can use, such as online scheduling and intake packets and all that kind of stuff. But I know that ZocDoc is a popular place for people to search out providers. And because I want my practice to grow, I want to put my practice in the places where people are looking for therapy. ZocDoc happens to be one of those places, and so that's why I'm listed on ZocDoc. Now, a side note here, one of my theories is if you want to grow and you want to put your practice in front of potential therapy seekers, and so you want to know where potential therapy seekers are actually seeking out therapy. Again, so ZocDoc comes into play, Psychology Today, you know, this kind of thing. So you kind of want to think about it that way. And that actually leads me into my next one, which is Psychology Today. And very similar to ZocDoc, I use this as a place to get referrals. It's a directory listing. And so again, a lot of therapy seekers go to Psychology Today to find therapists, which is why my practice is listed on Psychology Today. I also use Alma. Now, Alma has a bunch of different features and tools that they offer, but I'm primarily using it for two reasons. One is for being able to take insurance, and the second is to be listed in their directory to gain referrals. One of Alma's main draws is that they make it super easy for a therapist to accept insurance because they credential you and they make it really easy to submit claims. So I use it for that purpose. The other thing they have is a pretty vibrant directory. I think they're growing in popularity, so a lot of therapy seekers are actually going to Alma to find therapists. So being listed on that directory has proved to be fruitful in my practice. They're always rolling out something new. And similar to Alma, I also use Headway. They are similar to Alma in many ways. They make it really easy to be credentialed with insurance, to bill insurance. They also have a directory listing. I actually use them for one reason, and that is to be credentialed and to accept insurance in my group practice. So that is one thing Headway does allow that Alma does not. I also use a service called Ther, and Ther is basically a service that helps clients use their out-of-network benefits really easily. It can be a real pain for clients to navigate out-of-network benefits, but Ther makes it super simple. And so essentially what happens is at the end of a visit, I will submit the claim into Ther, and then they'll actually work with the client or on behalf of the client to obtain the out-of-network benefits. And so the client actually doesn't really need to go through all the hula hoops and calling insurance and figuring it all out. Ther does all the heavy lifting, and then the client is reimbursed from Ther. I also use Squarespace. Now I use this to build my website. I'll leave a link to my website down below so you can check it out. And now there's a few reasons why I've chosen Squarespace. Now for one, it is highly customizable. So you're not stuck with just one template, but you can really make the website your own with colors and fonts and all sorts of things. It's also fairly advanced. So you can, have a marketer come in and be a part of your website and help you with SEO. You can insert different code and all sorts of things. So you can do a lot. It's really advanced. I mean, there's a lot of features. I mean, there's not much you can't do with a Squarespace site. And then finally, you're also able to maintain the Squarespace site without any coding knowledge. And I'm using another platform called Notion. This is where I do all my task management and organizing of to-do lists and things like that. I've talked about this several times on the channel. I'll leave a link down below to a couple videos about Notion and how I use it as part of my private practice. I also use a service called Super. Now this one's really discreet. I'll leave a link to it down below. I think it's actually called Super Site. And essentially what I've done is I've created an employee manual for my group practice, and I built that inside of Notion because Notion allows you to create web pages really easily. But Super then allows me to take that Notion page and turn it into a website that my staff can access. And so Super basically acts as a bridge between Notion and my staff, and it turns that into a website. Now that, I don't know if you're too interested in that, but at least I'd mention it because it is something that I am using. Yeah, that is all of the services, subscriptions, and platforms that I'm currently using as part of my private practice. Now these things are always changing. I'm adding new things, I'm taking away things based on my goals for my private practice, my business goals. So for example, if I don't need an employee manual anymore, well then I won't be using SuperSite, right? Or if I feel like referrals are coming in, well maybe I don't need as many listings on directories. Again, you want to think about all of these things in relation to your goals, Think about what you need, what you want to achieve, and then use the tools accordingly. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you learned something. At the very least, I hope you are inspired and are now a little bit more excited about private practice. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you soon.